the board right now.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Commissioner Gage, will you take us to the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. If there's no additions to the agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Weiss, second by Dennert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, we'll open the meeting up for any public comment. Anyone wish to address the commission on any issue that's not on the agenda? Out there online or on the phone? Seeing none, we'll move on. Approve and authorize chairman to sign the memorandum of understanding with Dickey County. It's in the packet.
Dirk's on if you have any questions.
Dirk, anything to add to the MOU?
Morning.
You're late.
We're down here on the Jim River below the Scandinavian Church looking at some overgrowth right now.
Is that what you're telling them?
See if it was. That's actually the exact same agreement that we signed before. Dickey County had signed a different one that left the inspection at 50/50 for each county, and I never did figure out functionally how that would work. So I guess a couple of you probably saw the email I sent them and about it, and then shortly after they passed the original one again. So you're just redoing what you did because they had to go back and pass the 100% inspection set up the way it is. I did a bad job of explaining that, so if you have a question, you can ask it, but you're just redoing the same thing again we did last time.
All right. Any questions, comments?
Is that for bridges, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Not entertain a motion.
Just a little bit of quick detail. We share 4 bridges on the state line, and functionally, the eastmost one, which is over the Jim River, has been ours, and we've always done all the 100% of the inspection. We're responsible for all of that on that, and the other 3, Dickey County has been. And it's very clear we've shared costs when they're replaced. There's no discussion there. I just think that if you had the 50%, you know, the 50%, 2 people have 50% responsibility. I don't even know what the hell that means. But how's that different than 2 people having 100% responsibility? So, but there's 4 bridges we're talking about. 3 of them are on Dickey County system, and 1 is on our system. And basically, we're just continuing forward. Our good friends at the Federal Highway needed a file with some delineation all the way across the North-South Dakota border on how those are taken care of between the 2 counties. So this is kind of us having to do some paperwork just to write down what we've been doing for the last 100 years.
All right. Thank you, Dirk. Any other questions, comments? Not entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Dennert, second by Dinger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, Rachel Kipley, Fairgrounds Parks Manager,
Hi, guys.
talking about a small animal barn bid.
Yeah, so if you'll remember last May when we started budgeting, this was in that budget for this year, to the tune of about 80 grand. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and advertise that. We're gonna keep it simple, just so we don't outprice ourselves. So the current Bunny Barn, you guys know where that's located, northwest of the Expo building. We're gonna increase the size. It would be a 5,000 square foot building, roughly a 50 by 100, but some of those options in there, because I wanna see what it would cost to do steel, whole barn, and also a Quonset structure. That's what we currently have, is kind of that domed roof. So I didn't want to get anybody that felt like they couldn't throw in a bid, because I want to see everything that's out there. So it's a very general RFP, and then But yeah, it'll definitely increase the square footage that we have, and if you remember that 50 weeks of the year, it's only used for cold storage. So during Fair Week, obviously, we put the bunnies in there, it's the bunny barn, but we're gonna pull the poultry, which we had temporarily housed on the east side of the beef barn, and all those small animals into this particular, structure during Fair Week. So yeah, do you have any questions for me?
How big is the current bunny barn?
I wanna say it's like 50 by 34. Give me one sec, I can tell you. Got it on one leg.
So the new one's gonna extend, just go out to the road?
Yeah, and what we might do is flip it. We've talked about, instead of going east and west, going north and south, and kind of replacing it down to the southwest a little bit in that lawn. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing. Egg Expo. I apologize, I will get back to you.
Well, it's not that big, I'm just curious roughly.
But yeah, it'll be much bigger than the current, and which will be good, because we can use more storage out there too, so. So the current RFP that we're working on will probably not do plumbing. It's not gonna be insulated, it's not gonna have concrete, and it's not gonna have the electrical, but it will have the electrical doors ready to go, so that when the structure itself, is up, then we'll contract with some of the locals to get the lighting and the electrical that we need, one step at a time, so.
And you're gonna do some of the site work.
Yes, I talked to Dirk about demoing the building, and he was willing to help us with that, and then we'll bring in some gravel and prep the site, so.
Okay.
The other thing that, I was gonna tell you what, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, at the end of the, specs we're working on is the opportunity, if there is somebody that wants to put the number in, is we're gonna accept any sponsorships contingent on your approval for naming rights for a 10-year period. Never wanna do the like forever naming, but if there's 3 lines, so here's what my total bid is, minus if you're willing to let me name it with your guys' permission and or vendor space, take this off, and then this would be my asking price. So we thought that might be a good way to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had some people express interest in that, so.
Cool. Very good.
So I'm not sure what the dates and advertising allow for, but when would be the opening? 18th is good? Okay, good. If you guys are good with it.
Anything, okay, motion by Weiss,
Second.
second by Gage to approve the advertising. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Other than that, any questions for us? Rockin' and rollin'.
Oh, good.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Rachel. Thank you. All right, I just got notification that 1026 passed out of committee, 11 to 2. So the Richmond funding is moving forward. All right, next up, discuss Sheriff Department impress fund. Morning, John.
Morning.
How are you today?
Good.
What do you want to talk to us about?
I guess I thought you guys were discussing it, so I was sent over to plead our case.
Okay. We've had some concerns with the amounts of money that are being delivered to the treasurer's office and the timing of those deliveries, number one. Number two, the rest of the employees in the county all have a process by which, after they've paid for their meals, if they go out of town, they complete the voucher and then are reimbursed. So this would basically treat everyone the same countywide, system-wide, and that's our reason for discussing it.
Okay. I guess the one thing that we see a problem with that is we transport inmates. So now our deputy is gonna be responsible for paying for a meal for the inmate too and themselves and hoping to get reimbursed for it. Whereas the way we do it now, we give them the cash ahead of time. Here's the money to buy them a Happy Meal or something at McDonald's, so.
The way I understand it is buying it for an inmate, they can use a credit card, but not the employee. So it would just be for the employee, and that's the way the rest of the departments are handled also.
Okay. So then, we're not gonna have issues with fast food joints aren't gonna do tax exempt. We turn in receipts with sales tax on them. That's the only issue I see there is coming down the road, getting these receipts, turning them in with sales tax on them. Since technically all of our purchases on credit cards have to be tax exempt.
a way of addressing that, or is it not?
That we just have to pay those because we need them back.
Probably be pretty minimal in the grand scheme of things.
Are they getting them sales tax exempt now when they pay cash?
No?
So it doesn't make any difference.
Either way, we're paying the tax. And another concern that has been voiced to me is the lack of receipts, and the accountability just isn't quite as efficient as it could be, and we think this would be a way of making sure that receipts are turned in a timely manner. They would have to be submitted along with payroll so that it all could be reimbursed each payroll period. Is that correct?
So, a lot of times, you know, someone takes a trip, say we have to run someone to Yankton, they would get $14 for the lunch. So if they're not going to lunch then, they don't get reimbursed, even if they're gone from this time to this time, by the policy manual, because there's the time, you leave before this time, get back after this time, you get the per diem for that. So if they're not gonna go get anything to eat, if they're just, I wanna get there and get back, I don't need to stop for anything to eat.
If they're not required to submit a receipt, there's a per diem, and they meet the qualifications for that, it's the same thing. It's just instead of getting it up front, it comes on their
Okay.
next
That was the other
check.
big question I had was, so if they're not gonna turn in a receipt for a value meal at McDonald's, are they still gonna get reimbursed for the per diem for being on the road
Yep.
driving at that time?
They wouldn't need a receipt, John. All
Okay.
they would have to do is on that travel voucher, put in what time they left, what time they returned, and then whichever category they fall into, the lunch, breakfast, or
It's
supper.
breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and then it's
Yeah.
just automatic put into it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there is some occasions we have to take some longer trips. So, I mean, we're going, one that jumps to mind, we went to Missouri, which, you know, it comes a 2-day-long transport trip of people, so it's kind of some of it's a stretch for some of these deputies to float their meals out, not have that in their pocket when they're leaving to go, so. That was kind of the bonus of having it the way it was we could give them that up front, and then we'd know they'd be eating while they're driving, so.
Any other questions, comments? I guess I've shared what I've heard and our reason for at least discussing it, so anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, just one question. How much would be sent, you know, with a deputy on like a longer trip like that? I mean, roughly.
Well, it kind of depends on how long the trip is. So what is it? It's 40, trying to do the math in my head quick, $40 a day for per diem. So I mean, if they're gone for 2 days down, 2 days back, that could be, you know, $160 that we're
Okay.
sending down with them.
I was just curious. You know, obviously a trip to Missouri is a lot more expensive than, you know, Yankton, for example, even though Yankton is not close, but.
So if they did have to pay for, say, 4 days of meals, they could put it on their personal credit card, turn in the voucher, and they would get paid the next payroll. So the timing wouldn't be a big issue. They'd be reimbursed very quickly. And if they're gone for 4 days, then they can put their hotels on county credit cards where they're not out that. It's basically just the per diem for meals is what we're talking. Go ahead, Mike.
On an impress fund, is there a cap on that at all, or anything, or is that can just be as much money in there as
They have
whatever?
500 in it.
Was that
$500 is what they have in it.
$500 is what they have in it, and it doesn't fluctuate from that, or it just?
Any other questions? I think the attempt is to try and get all employees countywide as, you know, as fair and equitable.
It's basically like a petty cash fund over
Yeah.
there. They use what they need throughout the month, and then they submit a voucher with the form that they all have to sign saying that they gave so-and-so this amount for this trip, and this is the date and the times that they left and returned at the bottom.
So there's only over $500?
Yep.
Okay.
And then we just reimburse that fund every month.
So it's a per diem amount, then there should be documentation, and if it's receipts, there should be receipts for it. So whether we get rid of it or not, the reimbursement should switch over to the same way that everybody else is doing it. And I know it's a bit of a change, but that's just the way it needs to go for proper accounting. And you got less cash floating around for things. It should simplify things.
Thoughts?
Is there any way we could do something with, I mean, the one-day transfers down there like that, I can see, are you doing one meal or whatever, but I kinda wonder about the 2 or 3 day transfers if you got numerous meals out of pocket or whatever, you know, I mean, I don't know, is there something that could be done that we could have some different way of doing that though? I know that, I mean, how many other departments would be doing that? Would you have any other employees in the county be doing like a multiple day?
Well,
Per diem
like
trips
when
or
we go
not?
to workshops and stuff, I mean, if they're 2-3 days, we're paying it for ourselves. So we can have.
I do go to conference or training.
Right.
Okay.
And you put it on the voucher when you're back, get personal mileage or not, or any other
Yeah.
miscellaneous
Whether I
expense.
eat a meal or don't eat a meal,
Yeah.
you know, if they provide it, I don't put it on
Right.
the per diem. Unless you don't care for what they're serving, but.
Gotcha. Okay.
Basically a way of treating all county employees the same versus having one department
Just,
treated differently.
we're wondering, I guess, why now? Because this has been, at least for 12 years that I've been here, we've been doing it without a problem. Impress fund during the sheets, get the cash before you go, so. I mean, obviously, we've been doing it for 12 years without any major headaches.
Right, we're not saying anything's improper, but just, you know, as we look at different things and this pops up, it's like, why are we treating this differently than we do everyone else? I mean, we've got the vouchers, and it's on there. Tear it up. You know, you're familiar with that. When you're out of town, you get reimbursed based on, you know, what time you were there and the rest of it. And we just, you know, that's because it's always been that way. We think it ought to be uniform the way it is with everything else, just for cleaner accounting, and frankly, it'll simplify things for your folks. It'll be a little bit of a change, and you're not gonna get that money fronted up, and it's not because we don't trust anybody, or we think it's a cleaner way to do it. And whether you keep the impress fund or not, I think from a policy standpoint, that's what we'd like to see happen. Does that make sense?
Yep.
If you have a 4-day transport to Missouri, for example, that, the example you used, would that be a one-person or two-person?
That's
trip?
generally 2 people. That way, one person's not driving
Right,
18 hours a day
right.
for 4 days.
Yep.
We can trade off, so.
I guess that's why I asked. I would assume it would be a two-person transport versus just one.
They happen, but they're relatively rare.
Right.
And I guess at this point, I'd be comfortable with leaving the impress fund, but I would like to see a change in policy where that's an exception rather than the rule. And the rule would be that you put it on the per diem sheet, same as the rest of it, get reimbursed, and you'll be reimbursed within 2 weeks. Bless you.
Yeah, we would just ask them to do it every 2 weeks, especially your transport drivers, because with payroll, some of them don't work consistently, and it's gotta hit when we pay them.
So when you finish your trip, do the paperwork, 5-10 minutes, get reimbursed.
Next paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, just for example, the Missouri trip you mentioned, how much notice do they have before that? I'm just curious.
Well, ideally, we like a couple weeks notice on them, but sometimes it's, you have 2-3 days and say, hey, this person needs to go, or this person's down there, you need to go
Yeah.
get them.
Okay.
I was wondering that too. I imagine we don't often get, you know, a notice that's,
You're waiting to grant extradition, it's like, you want them, come get them now.
yeah, go, you know. So would it be possible to leave the impress fund, but like you said, change the policy but allow that where, you know, in a situation like that, where someone needs the money fronted up, that could still happen, but generally speaking, the rule would be that you use the voucher. Is that?
Be an exception rather than the rule.
Right, is that something that?
Yeah, I think if we have the option to have it there for like those longer trips, short notice ones, it'd be nice to have, just so we're not
Yeah.
asking these deputies to.
If there's someone that has an unusual circumstance, for whatever reason, it would still be available, but not commonly practiced.
Well, that's what I was kinda asking, but, like, when you go to conferences and stuff, usually that's put in and you have some notice, right? I mean,
Right,
you're
right.
going somewhere. Whereas this, if it's just dumped on you, and you're not really planning on a 2 or 3 day, I mean, I think the 1 day, same as everybody else. I mean,
Right.
because you're gonna eat that day or whatever anyways, or not, but I think there should be some type of special exception for maybe these longer trips in that.
This way the mechanism's still in place in case it's needed.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of slowly switch over to the same reimbursement policy as the rest of
Slowly,
the county
sweet.
employees.
Yeah, that's the direction I'm kind of thinking, is what I just kind of stated, is that, I mean, I think that makes sense to follow, you know, the process everyone else does when it works practically, which would be the majority of the time, I would think, so.
Still have it there.
Yeah, still have, you guys, you know, you guys would have some flexibility in an unusual circumstance, I mean, or either just a farther trip also, so.
Is that a reasonable compromise?
I think so.
Okay.
All right.
We'll gauge it for a while and see if it's working and see if we...
Thanks for coming
All
over.
right. Thank you,
Very
John.
good. Have a good day.
You too. Appreciate you coming over. Next up, Patty Van Meter, Treasurer, to talk about tax deeds and non-collectible taxes. Good morning, Madam Treasurer.
You want me to go over and get her?
We know she's here.
Yeah, she was here, right?
Turn on the hold music.
Coming? Okay.
Oh, look at that.
There she is.
We know you're here.
Ooh, like the magic genie, huh?
Good morning.
Hi there. All right, you got a copy of all the tax deeds that
Yep.
it's time to turn over?
Interesting reading.
Yes. Any that you want to dispute, don't think it should go over or discuss? A couple of them have just 1 year. I know it'll show the current year, we just want them to know that's what's on the books. But I suspect once they get that first letter that gives them 30 days, that 1 year will be paid and then we're all good. So we just listed it on there. Depending on when they pay, as long as it's before April, they don't have to do anything with the current year, so. Everybody good with that?
But it shows what's outstanding and it's...
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's what's on the books.
Interesting.
Doing your job.
Yes?
Yep.
So,
Need a motion to approve?
I do.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
How about my single uncollectible mobile home? I'm very impressed that I only had one this time.
That was a quicker reading.
I know, wasn't that nice? So, we do occasionally get the money for those. Normally the parks, 9 times out of 10 they're in a park. If the park, they get condemned by the city or something, before they go to move it, we get the money. So, I just don't have to make any further efforts to do anything on them.
Yeah, move.
Okay?
Second. Motion by Weiss, second by Dinger. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay. I would like executive session when you're done, so I'll just hang out. We don't think you have a whole lot, and we'll...
We don't, but we will go into check, so we'll,
Yeah.
just hang out.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
All right.
Thanks.
To discuss personnel, Patty,
The secret.
Yes, please.
personnel, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Next up, consent calendar, Lynn.
Approval of the general meeting minutes of January 21st.
Move. Second.
Motion by Gage, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims and payroll.
Move. Second.
Motion by Gage, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
HR report.
Move. Second.
Motion by Dennis, second by Dinger. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
the 2024 corrections to the landfill charge account.
Move.
Motion by Dinger,
Second.
second by Gage, killed a few trees there. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Zoning ordinance, set hearing date and authorize advertising.
Move.
Second. Motion by Weiss, second by Denner. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? We've got a request to go into executive session for personnel, and I've got one for legal and potential contract. So entertain a motion to go into exec.
Move. Second.
Motion by Dinger, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in exec. All right, we're back in regular session, out of exec with no action as a result. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? Not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Dinger. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.